field. So let me skip to qualitative techniques. So from quantitative to qualitative. Qualitative research methods with special emphasis on case study and ethnography. So here ethnography and the case study are more important. The qualitative techniques means the data that we collect from the survey gives the qualitative implications of the topic in question. So the question will be asked to give their opinions. It is nothing but opinion survey. So in the case of opinions, there will not be quantitative data in terms of kgs, rupees, or tons, etc. The data will be given in terms of the whole number or a quality classification by giving the priority order or the rank of the options. So in qualitative research, we will have so many questions that gives the range of the quality for each and every question. So in the case of that range, it can be based on a scaling method. Quality will be represented in the form of scale. And the scale may be with the different numbers, starting from 1 to 5 or starting from 1 to 10. So it depends. So they are called as the scales for the data, the scales for the quality, the scales for the opinion. When you are get your vehicle servicing, after completion of 1 or 2 days, the people from the servicing unit will call you and ask you how best is the quality and ask you to give the number 8, 9, or 10. Because the service is in terms of 1 to 10 scaling. When there is 1 to 10 scaling starting from the worst to the best, They specifically ask you, please give ranking from 8, 9, 10, whatever the value between 8, 9, 10. That means they want us to grade their service as high or highly satisfactory. So 8, 9, 10, if you give, they're satisfied with high ranking. If you give 1 or 2 or 3, then immediately they will ask, what is the problem? Why you are giving lower ranks for the service? So the service rendered by a particular motor company will be graded from 1 to 10 scaling. This is what we call scaling technique. Similarly, the grading system starting from A plus 2 F. So A plus A, B plus B, C, D, E, and F. This scaling system, also 7 scaling system, will have different values of the marks in education system. So for quantitative methods papers, if the student get 85 and above marks, he will be graded as A plus, that is excellent grade. Then if he gets 75 and above but below 85, he will be graded as A. And if a student gets 60 and above but below 75, he will be graded as B plus. If the student gets 50 and up to 60, he will be graded as B. And if students get 40 up to 50, he will be graded as C. And if he is 30 and up to 40 marks as D, and less than 30, he will be F grade, that is failed grade. So like that, in grading system, we are making this scaling technique. This is a quality of assessment, not quantity. If we award number of marks, then it is called the quantification of marks. When the quantification is converted into the grades, A plus A, B plus B, C, D, E, F, then these grades are called qualitative measurements. So in most of the surveys, which are based on either a specific case, which is called a case study, or specific ethnic group, say primitive tribes, say Koyas, Kondareddis, or Chenchus. So when we are drawing a sample among a primitive groups, then we have to go for the ethnic comparisons between two groups. That is based on ethnographic surveys. If we go for survey of a socio-economic conditions between two primitive groups, tribal groups, say Koyas and Kondareddis, or Gonds and Koyas, or say Lambadas and Gonds, because both are, one is a primitive tribal group and another is a non-primitive tribal group. So when we compare two different ethnic social groups in our survey, in our research, then we have to use many qualitative variables and many questions on testing the improvement in the quality of their condition, their education condition, their health condition, say their social status. So like that, we can have even their political empowerment, political status. So there are so many variables that are considered for estimation of their improvement in their status. And this status improvement will not be counted in the form of quantities, that is numbers. They can be graded in terms of ranks. Say first rank, second rank, third rank, highly improved, improved, satisfactorily improved, not improved, or worst. So no improvement or worst improvement. So like that, the improvement can be categorized based on scaling technique. So such type of scaling techniques are called qualitative techniques. And based on that qualitative techniques, we can have some statistical data methods, how to assess the improvement in the quality, how to assess the comparison between a particular group at present period and say 30 years back or 50 years back, or how to compare two different primitive groups and their social status in a particular period. So these are all called the qualitative statistical data techniques. Out of them, the most important qualitative data technique is concurrent deviations. Concurrent deviations method. Concurrent deviations method. This is the most important qualitative technique that used for comparison between two ethnic groups for a particular variable. So in this concurrent deviations method, we have to use over a period of time how the progression was made, how the improvement was taking place. And if it is improved positively, we will take a plus symbol. If it is declined negatively, we will take minus symbol. And then we will compare these plus symbols and minus symbols in a category. And if both categories having the same symbol, then that is called as concurrent deviation. That is, deviation is similar for both groups. That is concurrent deviation. And how many concurrent deviations are there between two groups for many variables over a period of time? And how many total deviations are there? So after comparing the concurrent deviations with the total deviations, we can calculate the association between the two variables. That is what we call concurrent deviations method. And the association is estimated in the form of a coefficient that is called as coefficient of concurrent deviations. Coefficient of concurrent deviations. And this coefficient of concurrent deviations is also called as small r C. C subscription. R is representing correlation coefficient. And similarly, this is almost equal to correlation coefficient. So we call it as concurrent deviation of correlation. So RC. And C represents concurrent deviations. And M represents total number of deviations. And this concurrent deviation method is 1 minus 2C minus M divided by M. M is total number of deviations within the data set, and C is the concurrent deviations which have same deviations, and 1 minus 2C minus M by M gives the value of correlation coefficient. So the value of 2C minus M by M decides whether there is a plus relationship, that is positive relationship, or negative relationship. So for that reason, we have to use 1 minus root of, say, plus or minus and then plus or minus. Plus or minus root of plus or minus we will take. If this becomes a negative value, we will take both negative values. If this becomes positive value, we will take both positive values to arrive at correlation coefficient. So this is what we call the coefficient of concurrent deviation, and it depends upon the value of C and M. That is number of same deviations, that is concurrent deviations between two groups, and total number of deviations in the data, M. So based on these values, we can take the correlation coefficient with concurrent deviations. And the range of this is always between -1 and +1, similarly like coefficient of correlation. The range of the value is always -1 to +1. So any value between -1 and +1. But calculation method depends upon the simple formula C and M. So we have to know how many deviations are concurrent deviations and how many deviations, that is M, are total deviations in the data. So let us take one example for this. For concurrent deviations method. And this method is useful when the data is available with large quantities. Say, between two ethnic groups, one ethnic group, say, among tribals, one is Goans, and another is Chinchus. They will have income levels. Say 0 to 10,000, 10,000 to 20,000, 20,000 to 30,000, 30,000 to 40,000, 40,000 to 50,000. 50,000 to say 1 lakh. Above 1 lakh. So these are the income classifications. So income is classified into different classes with different ranges. And now, after survey on bones and census, we will have frequencies. How many number of bone families are in this group, in this group, in this group, in this group, in this group. Say suppose 150 families, 120 families, 100 families, 50 families, 25 families, 5 families, and 2 families. And among census, let me tell you this. Two hundred, 100, 110, 60, 40, say some 10 or 5. Some frequencies for bones and census on a socio-economic survey. We have estimated the income levels into different groups. And for each group, how many bones are there, how many census are there are given here. So our purpose is whether there is positive relationship between bones and census in terms of their income levels. So we can take in qualitative case the improvement in the income levels. If there is improvement over the previous group, we can take plus symbol. If there is a decline in the from the previous group, we will take minus symbol. So in the first group, there is no comparison. So there will not be values, either plus symbol or negative symbol. Nothing will be there in the first group. So you can say not applicable. Then from bones, 150 to 120, is there improvement or disimprovement? So 150 to 120, it is decline. So minus symbol. 120 to 100, again decline, minus symbol. 100 to 50, again decline. 50 to 25, decline. 25 to 5, decline. 5 to 2, decline. In the case of census, 200 to 150, decline. 150 to 100, decline. Then 100 to 110, there is improvement. Then from 110 to 60, decline. Then 40 to 60, decline. 40 to 5, decline. Now we have to multiply. Suppose this is A, this is B. A is improvement or decline in the bones, improvement or decline in the case of census over subsequent cases. Now we have to multiply A into B. So in the case of A into B, when the symbol is the same, we will have plus symbol, because minus into minus, plus, minus into minus, plus, minus into plus, minus, minus into minus, plus, minus into minus plus, minus into minus plus. So A into B gives a chance for measurement of values of M and values of C in the formula. So how many plus symbols are there? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So C is having plus symbols in the product, that is 5, and M is the total number of deviations. That is always n minus 1. N is number of classifications. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 classifications are there. Out of 7, the first is not possible to get concurrent deviations. So 7 minus 1 is 6 is M. So the total deviations that we have are 6, and equal deviations in both drives. We have say, minus minus 1, minus minus 1, minus minus 1, minus minus 1, minus minus 1. So when the multiplication will have same symbol, that is plus symbol, that is called as concurrent deviations, C. So 5. So in the formula for R, equal to get, let me. So in the case of the data having different income levels or income class groups, distribution of frequencies among gones and centus, and taking the deviations from the present to previous, present to previous, present to previous. That is current value minus previous value, current value minus previous value for all the rows. We have all minuses except here, because here it increased from 100 to 110. So it is only plus value. All the remaining are minus values. Then we will take minus into minus plus, minus into minus plus, minus into plus minus, then minus into minus plus, minus into minus plus, minus into minus plus. So how many plus values are there in A into B is called concurrent deviations. So there are 5 plus values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And how many total deviations are there, including minus? So only 1 minus is there. So if we add that 1 minus to plus, M is 6. So R equal to, say, plus or minus root of plus or minus, say, 2 into C minus M by M that we need to calculate. So by substituting the values, are you able to see? Or let me take it into the top. So R equal to plus or minus root of plus or minus 2C minus M divided by M. That equal to, so after substitution of C equal to 5 here, plus or minus root of plus or minus 2 into 5 minus 6 divided by 5 divided by 6. M is 6. So total deviations are M. Out of total deviation 6, 5 deviations are plus values. So that is concurrent deviations. Concurrent deviations means same deviations for both groups. Gond group minus Centu group minus. Similarly, Gond group minus Centu group minus. But in this case, only one Gond group minus, but Centu group plus. So it is only the non-concurrent deviation. all the remaining 5 are concurrent deviations. That means having same symbols. So in the same symbol, when we have the plus symbols will be there in the multiplication. When there are different deviations in the multiplication, we will get negative symbol. So total deviations are 6, that is m, and concurrent deviations, that is same deviations, are 5. So by simplification, we will have plus or minus root of plus or minus 2 into 5 is 10 minus 6 divided by 6. That equal to plus or minus root of, again plus or minus 10 minus 6 is 4 by 6. Then plus or minus root of plus or minus 4 by 6 is 0. So 6.666, it will continue. So let us take only 2 decimals, 0.67. So that gives us the value for correlation coefficient. Since it is plus value, we can take plus in all the cases. So plus root of 0.67. So that is, again, since plus is there, we can take plus value, plus multiplied by any value is plus. It is 0.8 something. Because 8 into 8 is 64. So it will be 0.8. So that means correlation coefficient, or say concurrent deviations coefficient, equal to 0.8. Since it is positive and nearer to 1 plus 1, we can say there is a positive relationship between Bones and Cinchus, or they have similar trend in their income levels. Both Bones and Cinchus have similar trend in their income levels. So similar trend means in the lower income also more number of people in both groups. In higher income range also they will have similar number of, so less number in the both groups at higher income levels, higher income group, higher level of people in the lower income groups. So the distribution of Bones and Cinchus over different levels of incomes are similar in both cases. So because of that reason, the concurrent coefficient of deviation is 0.8. That means there is perfect direction and positive direction in both cases. In the lower income levels also, many number of Bones and Cinchus. Higher income levels also, lower number of Bones and Cinchus. So they will have similar pattern of distribution. So the similar pattern of frequency distribution over different income ranges. That is represented by the concurrent coefficient of deviations, or coefficient of concurrent deviations. It is also indicated with the R symbol with subscript of C. That is, correlation among the two groups is positive and it is high positive correlation. And this high positive correlation can also be explained by taking the correlation coefficient with the Pearson method, Pearson correlation coefficient, or even taking ranks for these values, rank correlation coefficient. But in the case of qualitative data and qualitative methods, we will take concurrent coefficient method or coefficient of concurrent deviations method. by just taking plus symbol or minus symbol over the previous values. If there is improvement, say here 100 to 110 improvement is there in the frequency, we have taken plus. In all the cases, we have not improvement, we have declining values. So we have taken minus values, except this. And after multiplication of the symbolic deviations between A and B, that is Ghon's and Senchu's, A into B, the product. If the product gives plus symbol, that is what we call concurrent deviation. That is, deviations are similar in both tribal groups. If the deviations are dissimilar and they are opposite in their nature, then there will be a minus symbol here. The plus here plus, here minus. So when there are both in different directions, one is positive and one is negative, they are not called as concurrent deviations. So if they have both values first plus or both values minus, then it will be called as concurrent deviation. So out of the total deviations, 6 deviations are there. And out of 6 total deviations, only 5 deviations are same for both groups, and 1 deviation is not same. So in multiplication process, if they have same deviations, they will get plus symbol. If they have opposite deviations, they will get minus symbol. So 5 are having plus symbol. So we consider concurrent deviations are 5 out of total deviations M. So M is 6, C is 5. So the RC value, that is concurrent deviations value, or coefficient of concurrent deviations, is represented by this formula, plus or minus root of plus or minus 2C minus M by M. So M is number of concurrent deviations, C is number of concurrent deviations, M is total number of deviations. And the total number of deviations is always N minus 1. N is total number of observations in the data, minus 1 gives M. And out of M, how many have equal symbols? Minus symbols or plus symbols? We will get that is C. So concurrent deviation means equal deviation in both categories or both ethnic groups. So by simplifying this data, we will get the value for coefficient of concurrent deviation, which is similar to correlation coefficient. And if it is positive, we can say there is positive association between the two groups in different levels of incomes. And if it is high, 0.5 and above, we can say there is a strong positive correlation. If it is nearer to 1, 0.1. So 0.9, finally it is plus 1. So the range is up to plus 1. So if they are all perfect, here also if you get minus symbol. So there will be C equal to 6, M is also equal. So 6 by 6, it will give 1 plus 1. That means the perfect relationship between two ethnic groups, Gonds and Senchus. Since there is one deviation which is not equal to both groups, there is some imperfection. And that imperfection is measured by the values of C and M. So C is less and M is more. So the value will be less than 1. And that less than 1 is 0.08, 0.8. But 0.8 is stronger. So it is positive. We can say that both ethnic groups and say Gonds and Senchus, have similarities in their income levels. And they have perfect positive correlation in their income levels. And that positive correlation is stronger because it is 0.8. So there is no opposite direction, they will have the same direction. If Bond's income levels frequency declines, Chinchu's frequency also declines. If Bond's income level frequency increases the lower level, Bond's frequency also increases in the opposite direction. So when we move from high income to low income, their frequencies are increased in both directions. When we move from lower value to higher values of income, their frequencies are declined continuously in both Bonds and Chinchus. So they will have same direction. That is what we call positive relationship between the two tribal groups, Chinchus and Bonds. So it indicates their economic conditions are similar. So coefficient of concurrent deviation will give us a chance to compare their economic conditions at a particular point of time in a particular survey. So over the distribution of different income ranges, the distribution of frequencies are differ. Say 150 here, 200 here, 120 here, 150 here, 100 here, 100 here, 50 here, 110 here, 25 here, 60 here, 5 here, 40 here, 2 here, 5 here. Though there is a difference in the frequencies, the higher frequencies are there for Chinchus than Bonds, but their deviations from one frequency to another frequency, from one income level to another income level, they will have same values, minus, 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 except in this case. So here it declined from 100 to 50, but in this case of Chinchus, it increased from 100 to 110. So one particular deviation is not concurrent deviation. Out of 6 deviations, only 5 have concurrent deviations. So because of that reason, the coefficient of concurrent deviation is less than 1, but it is positive. So both ethnic groups, Gonds and Chinchus, have similar income patterns, and that similarity is stronger in both groups. That strongerness is identified with 0.8 coefficient. Though there is no perfect commonality, but there is near perfect commonality that is estimated by concurrent coefficient of deviation. So this is one method. We call it as qualitative method. So here we are not calculating the numerical values of the coefficients from the deviations. We are just taking plus symbol or minus symbol and taking how many plus symbols are there, how many minus symbols are there in the product. And all the plus symbols in the product are called concurrent deviations, and the total symbols, whether it is plus or minus, call it as M, that is total deviation. So based on this C and M values, the coefficient of concurrent deviation is estimated. So this is the important qualitative method that we use in the comparisons between two ethnic groups, or comparisons between any two types of groups or two villages you can take. So the people in one village in Karnataka and the people in one village in Andhra Pradesh, if you want to compare in your ethnic study, say STs in Karnataka and STs in Andhra Pradesh, or STs in Maharashtra and STs in Andhra Pradesh, you can take any two ethnic groups or one ethnic group in two different places. That is what we call ethnographic studies, and comparing their levels in a particular socioeconomic variable. Here we have taken income groups. You can take even the employment levels. Instead of income levels, you can take employment levels also. Number of days of employment in a year between two ethnic groups. You can compare with this concurrent deviations method. Or improvement in education. So education levels of the two ethnic groups. So number of years of schooling, say less than 10 years, more than 10 years, or 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, 11 years. Because even in the Human Development Index, nowadays, instead of literacy rate and gross enrollment ratio, they are using now number of years of schooling. So if they complete 5 years in schooling, that means completion of primary education. 10 years in schooling means completion of secondary education. 12 years in schooling means completion of PUC or +2 education. Then 15 years of schooling means completion of undergraduate education, 15 or 16 years of schooling. So if it is 3 years undergraduate education, say BA, BCom, BSc, it is 12 plus 3, 15 years. If it is 4 years undergraduate education, say BTech and MBBS, they are having 4 years at undergraduate course. So 16 years they have completed their education. So like that, number of years of education is another important variable for quality of education. So for any type of surveys, we can use such type of data for getting concurrent coefficients. So concurrent deviations. So same deviation is called concurrent deviation in particular two. So for comparison between two groups, this method is easy to adopt. Just taking the deviations without having numerical values, just say plus or minus, and then multiply these symbols. Then we will have all plus values. All plus values out of total deviations are C, concurrent deviation. So once we know number of concurrent deviations, number of total deviations, and use this formula, that is plus or minus root of plus or minus within brackets 2c minus m by m. Suppose if 2c minus m by m leads to minus value, then we have to take minus values here. That is then, say suppose if the concurrent deviations are very less, if the C value is only 2, RC equal to plus or minus root of plus or minus 2 into 2 minus 6 by 6. So that is plus or minus root of plus or minus. So 2 into 2 is 4 minus 6. 2 into 2 is 4 minus 6 by 6. That equal to plus or minus root of plus or minus 4 minus 6 is minus 2 by 6. So when it is minus 2 by 6, we will have minus 2 by 6 is minus 0.33. It will continue. So since within brackets we have minus value, we have to take all minus values. So before the root and after the root, we will take minus if it gets minus value within brackets. Why? Because there is no root value for negative values. We have to convert it into positive value. So minus into minus plus 33 plus 0.33. Then we will have root for say 3366 36. So minus into root value is 0.6. So that becomes minus into 0.6 is minus 6. So it indicates negative relationship between the values. So once it is negative, the total value within the brackets is negative. It indicates a negative relationship between the two observations. And this negative relationship is estimated with the help of minus signs. So when it is minus, we have to keep these two minuses. So after taking these two minuses, minus into minus, it will become plus. And we can take root value for the plus values. So once we get root value, then you multiply the root value with the minus symbol, that will become minus 0.06. So minus 0.06, that means that data will have the concurrent coefficient of deviation with minus symbol. That means there is negative direction. That means one variable or ethnic group, say Goans increases, the other, say for Senchus, it may decline. So for one group, it will increase, for another group, it will decline. So because of that range, we will have only two concurrent deviations, having same deviations only for two occasions out of m number of occasions. So out of 6 deviations, we have only 2 deviations as same deviations and 4 deviations are in opposite directions. So if one gets minus, another gets plus. If one gets plus, another gets minus. So like that, plus and minuses are there. For more number of deviations, then automatically it will give you the negative relationship. And that negative relationship is identified with minus symbol. So if it is more than 0.5, we can say negative relationship with greater association. So strong negative relation that we indicate. So the concurrent deviation method is a method used for the qualitative research to compare two social groups or two ethnic groups or one ethnic group in two different places and to compare their levels at a particular question, whether it is for education, it is for health, or it is for the assets owned by the group. So whatever it may be, if you indicate different levels of that question or subgroups of that question, and then take deviations from the higher level to the lower level or lower level to the higher level. So if we have the same deviations for two different ethnic groups or a particular ethnic group in two different places, then we can say if the deviations are in opposite direction, we can say there is a negative relationship, there is inverse relationship, there is opposite relationship between two different groups or between two different places in the same group. If they go hand in hand, so they will have same signs, whether they have plus signs or minus signs. Similarly, for movement from one place to another place for the data, one level of data to another level of data, then we will have strong negative correlation between the two ethnic groups. So this is about the concurrent deviations method for assessing the association between two ethnic groups for the same data or for the same variable, say education level or income level or health levels or political empowerment or social empowerment. So whatever the variable that we take, and the number of frequencies we collected out of the total socio-economic survey for the group, and we have to compare those frequencies for the same data between different subcategories. So this is what we call the concurrent deviations method for estimation of relationship between two ethnic groups or one ethnic group between two different places. It may be for different countries, it may be for different states, or it may be for different districts within the state for same ethnic group. So these are called ethnographic comparisons. Then in the case of case study, how we will go about a case study. So in the case of case study, we have to, what is case study? First, it is identification of a particular case and trying to do a survey on it and find the survey results. So let me give you an example. In 2009, our government of Andhra Pradesh, the then combined government of Andhra Pradesh, asked us, that is a group of economists and also sociologists, to go for a survey on health functionality in ITDA areas, tribal areas. And we were given a task with given targets, whether the government health programs are implemented in ITDA areas successfully or not. If the programs are not implemented, what are the reasons? If the programs are successfully implemented, what are the factors that contributed for success of the programs? So these two are the tasks. So I was allotted to IDTA Bhadrachalam, that is Bhadrachalam ITDA area, Integrated Tribal Development Agency. This is in Khammam district. And the specific task identified in Bhadrachalam is the stillbirth and maternal mortality conditions, MMR and stillbirth rate, maternal mortality rate and stillbirth rate. That means how many children were born with death and how many pregnant women were died at the time of delivery. So these two are the specific tasks given to me for study. So this is a specific case study, and case study area is Bhadrachalam ITDA. And the case here is the tribal culture that leads to high MMR and high stillbirths. So we need to identify the reasons for that. So we have concentrated much on the factors that lead to stillbirths and maternal mortality. So we inquired particularly the focused tribal group in that area is Kondareddis, because they live only on hilltops, and they will have either 5 or 6 households in a village. So with less number of households, with less concentration, and they will live only in the top hills. They will not join with the general population in the nearby areas, and they will have their own culture. And at the same time, along with Kondareddis, we have also made Koya tribes, who are also having their own specific cases, but they live along with general population. So one tribal group will not live along with the general population. They will be separated themselves. They will be isolated and live in hilltops. So these two groups are identified for assessment whether they have a specific reason for the deaths at maternal mortality or at stillbirth. So what we have identified is, we took case by case in village. A group of people entered into that village, asked the group of people come together for a particular tribal group, and we asked their group people who represented on that day, and we asked, what is the reason for stillbirths in your area, and what is the reason for maternal deaths in your area? So most of the people told us that is their culture. So in Kondareddy's case, they strongly believe that without help of any health visitor, either doctor or midwife or say nurse, if the lady is able to deliver a baby and she herself make delivery for herself and make her child live and take bath for both of them, baby and mother, and she has to cry that we are healthy and come and open the door. So the delivery point for that tribal group is far away from the village. Far away means it may be above 1 furlong distance, and it is not linked with the group of huts where they live. It is some more distance, and it is isolated. It is called a delivery house. And what they will do is, in that delivery house, immediately after they identify that the lady is getting pains, they will took that lady to that delivery house or delivery room and keep her inside the delivery room, and they will lock outside and come back and ask her to deliver by herself and take bath for herself and her child, and she has to cry that we are living healthy and come and open the door. So the tradition, what they keep inside is, they will keep some knife for cutting the naru, and they will keep some 4 or 5 bottles of alcohol. If she gets more and more pains, if they are intolerable, she has to consume that alcohol, locally made alcohol. Then they will give 4 or 5 buckets of water inside for taking shower for baby and herself. So what they will do, if the delivery is smooth, she herself cut the nerve between mother and baby and tie it with a rope and take shower, and she will cry that we are happy and healthy and safe, come and open the door. But if she gets more pains, if they are intolerable, she will take that alcohol. So if she intoxicated with that alcohol, immediately she will lose her senses and she will kill herself by the knife, or with that alcohol intoxication, she may roll on the floor so that the baby inside will die. So this culture is the basic reason for stillbirths and maternal mortality in that particular tribal group. And when we argued with them, if she dies and her child dies inside the womb, what will take place? That is left to the fate. They will take it very easily. They will not bother at all. So if they come out with proper health and safe, they will live for 100 years. That is their target. So the strong belief that if mother and children after delivery, they will come out with safe. They strongly believe that both of them, they live for 100 years. If their fate is not to live, they will die there itself. So that is the strong belief among the Kondareddis. But due to the advances and due to the exposure for the health systems nowadays, that is reduced. But in olden days, that was the major reason for stillbirths and maternal mortality. That is one specific case. The another specific case with Koyas, they will work hard, complete day, and in the late evening, they will start at 4 or 5 o'clock. Complete family will sit together and they will consume alcohol, irrespective of the age, both children as well as old people. Complete family will get alcohol and intoxicated and they will enjoy themselves. And at that time, they will not allow any other person to come inside the house or inside to that particular area where they used to live. But after getting intoxication, they will quarrel themselves. So at the time of quarrel, they will forget whether the lady is pregnant or not. They will throw the lady on the road while quarreling. And sometimes they will kick on the stomach itself so that the baby inside the stomach will die. So these are the cultural barriers that led to the stillbirth or maternal mortality, because they are not allowing the general health system to function properly. So such type of studies, when we go and discuss with them personally, that is called case study, case by case. The case is different for Kondareddis and the case is different for Koyas. So in the case of Kondareddis, that is strong belief in their minds. So they will throw away the pregnant lady after getting pains into the room, and they will wait for the call from her. And these koyas, they will quarrel with each other by intoxication in each and every evening. They will forget whether she is pregnant or not, and they will kick off the lady on the stomach or throw her on the road so that the baby inside the stomach will die. And at the time of delivery also, they will not take proper care. They will not go to a trained A&M or midwife. They will try to deliver by themselves within the house. So these are the two cultural barriers that makes more maternal mortality rate in tribal community and more stillbirths in tribal communities. So such type of studies are called case studies. Case by case, we have to inquire. And the inquiry will not having prior questions. There will not be any questionnaire. The mutual discussion will be there. And while discussing mutually, we will have to generate our own questions against their responses. We have to note down a historical or traditional cultural events in the form of a qualitative study. So that is a case study method based on each and every particular community or particular case. These are mostly available in tribal studies, but we are not doing such type of case studies in general. But nowadays, what we are doing is we are doing case studies for self-help groups in general also. So we will select only one particular self-help group, which is progressive in nature, which is a success in their economic activities in the form of a success story. So in the case of success story also, what we will do, we will approach the group leader and also group members. We ask them to come together for a meeting and discuss with them what type of activities they have undertaken and how they have progressed in their economic activities and who supported them to write the documents, to get the loans, to circulate the loans among the group members, and how they produced their own products and how they sold their own products. So like that, the questions will be there, pre-identified and also timely identified questions. So based on the previous historical evidences or previous researches that we have in the review of literature, we can take some questions based on the review of literature and the previous studies, but we can add on more number of questions when we discuss with them personally. So doing a research on particular self-help group is called a success story or case study. So all the success stories that we narrate based on the information collected from the group members and group leader, that becomes a case study. So if we take two different groups, self-help groups, and take two different case studies and identify their nature of works, nature of economic activities, and how fast they have developed. And if one is not able to develop and another is able to develop, what are the reasons for fast development and what are the reasons for failure of the utilization of the microfinance activities? So that becomes again a comparative case study. One success case and one failure case. One group which is success group and another group which is failure group. So we can take two groups for the study, and we analyze their reasons for failure or success comparatively. Then that also makes comparative study and comparative case study. So these are about different types of case studies that we make in the qualitative analysis. Why we call it as, in the qualitative analysis, most of the variables do not have quantitative data. Mostly they will have yes or no type of answers. Say agree, disagree type of answers. Say strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree type of answers. So we have to give some scaling techniques for the answers for the questions, and we have to ask them, out of the given options, which option you prefer. So based on the number of members, identification of a particular answer, then we will take the weighted average of those answers, then compare between two groups what is the weighted average. If you have 10 groups, self-help groups in 10 different villages, and 10 groups are surveyed with the same type of questions, and finally we will take the qualitative answers for each group, compare the weighted average of that quantity, which we have quantified the qualitative answers by giving scaling techniques 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So giving grades for each answer, each qualitative answer will be graded in the form of 1, 2, 3, 4 digits. So we will have weighted average of the digits. So then we can compare that weighted average digits among the different groups to assess which group is performed well and which group is performed poor. So such type of studies are called case studies. So most of the case studies will have qualitative responses. So the qualitative responses can be converted into quantitative responses by giving a numerical value for each quality response. Say strongly disagree, 0 marks, disagree, 1 mark, neutral, 2 marks, agree, 3 marks, strongly agree, 4 marks. So now after allocating the rank for each and every quality of response from lower level to higher level, say 1 to 5 or 0 to 4 in 5 scales, then taking the frequencies, how many number of persons said 4, that is strongly agree. How many number of persons said 3, that is agree. How many number of persons said neutral, no answer. Then how many number of people said disagree, and how many number of people said strongly disagree. So after giving the quantification for each value and multiplying with the frequencies and adding all the products of grading multiplied by frequencies, then dividing with the total number of people surveyed will give us weighted average. So let me show you on the board. The weighted average calculation. This is suppose strongly agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. These are the variables that we have. a particular question. So strongly disagree, say some 50 people said, agree says some 100 people said, neutral says some 30 people were there, and disagree some 20 people were there. Strongly disagree says some 100 people were there. So these are the frequencies. So frequencies are nothing but number of people or number of respondents said strongly agree, number of respondents said agree, number of respondents said neutral, number of respondents said disagree, number of respondents said strongly disagree. So if we make total of them, this gives the total number of respondents, say 50, 50, 100, say 2, 300. So suppose we have interviewed 300 persons. Out of 300 respondents, 50 said they will strongly agree for one person, and 100 not said agree for person, and 30 they will not have any answer, and 20 people disagree for that, and 100 people strongly disagree for that. Suppose the question is, after entering into self-help group, your social condition is improved. That is the question. After entering into the self-help group, the social condition is improved. So that is supported by strongly agree 50% only, agree 100% only. Some people said no idea, that is only 30. Some people, they will not agree for that, they will disagree, that is 20. Some people strongly disagree for that statement, that is 100. So once we know, how do we judge whether these 300 people with these frequencies for these judgments, what is the average? So the average is estimated by giving the numerical values for this qualitative variable. So the qualitative variables are strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. So if you take, say, quantifiable, say ranks of these variables, you can say strongly disagree can be given with 5 points, agree can be 4 points, neutral can be 3 points, disagree can be 2 points, strongly disagree can be 1 point. So these are the, say, points given for a particular option. Points for option. So if the strongly disagree, strongly agree is the option, 5 points, agree is the option, 4 points, neutral is the option, 3 points, disagree 2 points, strongly disagree 1 point. So now we have to multiply frequency with this. Say frequency times points. F into P. So 50 into 5, 250. 100 into 4, 400. 30 into 3, 90. 20 into 2, 40. 1 into 100, 100. Then we have to total it. Say 50, 90, 140, 180. 2. 2 to 4, 4, 8. Total is 880. So 300 people with different grade points, we have got 880 is the total. So mean value or average value here is 880 divided by 300. So 3 cancel. 30. So 3 to just 6. 28. 3 9 are 27. Then 10. 3. 3 okay. So it will be 6.93. 0.93 or 300. That is 88 divided by 30 equal to 2.16. So it is nearly 2.9 approximately. So once we know 2.9 or simply 3, what is the value that we have given for 3? That is neutral. So it says the question, the average value for the question is neutral. So the strongly disagree and strongly agree and disagree people are neutralized the total area. This is 120 and this is 150. Neutral is 30. So the total value which comes 2.9 or 3, you can see where is 3. So we can come to a conclusion that the total number of people on an average are neutral about the success of the program. That means they have not completely agreed. At the same time, they have not completely disagreed. They are neutral about the program. The program is going on normal way. It is not success, it is not failure. So like that, we can take the values of the weighted average like this. Say X bar is the mean value or weighted average value that can be calculated with the given frequencies multiplied by their numerical values for the points, and then getting the total frequency times the points and getting the total value of the points divided by the number of respondents, which gives 2.9, which is almost 3. So 3 is the neutral value. So when 3 is the neutral value, some people may say strongly agree and agree. Some people may say disagree and strongly disagree. But on an average, though only 30 people said it is neutral, but the comparison between strongly agree and strongly disagree, agree and disagree, on overall sense, the average value come to 3. So we can say the average response for the person is neutral. So the success and failures are not much, but it is neutralized. The program is going normally and there is no high success rate. So there is who muted my mic? I don't know. Hello. So
yes, sir. I give allows to all the participants for asking questions.
Okay. now it is completed my class. Thank you very much for providing me this opportunity to have 2 classes in the capacity building program and having the opportunity to share my experience with the participants. So I thank the organizers for providing me this opportunity. So is there any questions or doubts from the participant side? I am ready to give you some response for the queries.
Thank you, sir, for engaging these 2 sessions, and it was very informative. It's time for audience to raise your questions. Unmute yourself and ask your questions.
So,
I think there is no questions.
no questions, no doubts.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
thank
sir.
you. So I thank all the participants to have clear ideas and clear observations. Okay. I think it is time for conclusion.
Yes, sir. Shall I wind up the session, sir?
Yes, you can wind up by giving a vote of thanks.
On behalf of Capacity Building Program, Department of Economic Studies, as well as Research Scholar Forum, I would like to wholeheartedly thank to Dr. Bhavaya, sir, for putting in lots of efforts despite sir busy schedule, making time for giving such a detailed presentation. Thanks for concern and time, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
I would like to thank all participants for your presence. Next session will start sharply at 2:30 p.m. Please join on time. Thank you all.